Thank you, Brenda. ¡Los Nicaragüenses! ¡Que viva la lucha!
Hi, everybody. We can't do this without you. We're taking donations to the Vladimir
Okay, do it. I think you want to film, huh?
Yeah, I just see a friend of Che Guevara here.
She just spoke.
She just spoke.
Yeah.
About what? Che Guevara? I didn't hear her speak.
No, she spoke about her organization, the youth organization. FIST.
Which is against imperialist, anti-imperialist?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, anti-imperialism, right?
For me, it's a good thing. I don't know for you.
How so? But why is it a good thing? See, the thing is, I came from Russia. That's why I'm kind of little surprised that people, would go the other way. You think it's going to work, like social? Well, I mean, what's the alternative, by the way, to imperialism, to capitalism? You're against capitalism, right?
Yes, I'm against capitalism.
But what's going to replace capitalism? I mean, what system?
I still think it's going to be socialism.
Socialism.
They got beat. You got beat over there.
But socialism has never existed, right? I mean, there hasn't been what you call a true socialist country.
Not a complete, no.
Not a complete. But you think?
But it was a non-capitalist, and it was developing, and it was. But it was surrounded, and it got beat.
So you think that just because they were surrounded by capitalists, that the so-called socialist countries, which were not really socialist countries, have existed for some time?
I think they wore them down.
But you know that the major source of income for Soviet Union, again, that's the part of the world that I originally came from, was selling to the imperialists that hate oil. Without oil, it would have collapsed long time ago.
I don't know.
Oil, steel, and all other resources that they had. And even today, Gazprom.
Yes, I know today that's what Russia has to do.
Okay, but even back then, like Brezhnev time, for example, they were selling the mineral resources to the West. I mean, again, to the imperialists that we hate. Isn't there kind of contradiction right there?
I don't know where this discussion is going to go to. So,
but that doesn't matter. I mean, really, you're here.
They produced a lot of stuff over there. They had to produce a lot of weapons too. So.
Yeah, that's true, but it's just the point. I mean, you said they have not succeeded as much as they could have, if not for the imperialists that surrounded them. But they were selling to the imperialists.
But they wouldn't have to be selling to the imperialists had there been revolution in another country, which they. Originally they thought there might be.
The world revolution.
Yeah, or at least Germany. In Germany there was a possibility in 1918, 1919
right.
to think that there would be a revolution.
Right.
Even though it didn't happen.
Right. But 1917, the revolution in Russia turned out to be, not really exactly...
Well, it turned out they could only develop so far with what they had, but they certainly developed, even during the 1930s even. They were able to function over there in a way they couldn't function in the West. Everything was going down here in the West until the war cleared it. I mean, you needed a world war to solve the problems of the capitalist.
But essentially, the best judge of history is time, right?
Well,
so with time, I mean,
we'll have to give it a little time. Unfortunately, we'll be dead.
But the thing, we've given the so-called socialism, so-called ideas, almost 100 years. The end result is 100 million people dead, and none of these countries have developed what you call true socialism. So what are they going to do next? I mean, that's honestly coming from that part of the world that perplexes me.
Where are you from?
Moscow.
From Moscow?
Yeah. So
you grew up there?
I was 29 years old. So I left through. I mean, I lived through the whole so-called socialism, totalitarianism that exists over there. So I can speak from the first-hand experience. And again, that's why it kind of surprises me and bothers me in a way, because you want to change the system that I'm happy with. You want to change it to something that I wasn't happy with when I lived over there.
Well, let's see how happy you are in a few years. I guess you're working.
Yes, I am. I have my own business.
What?
I have my own business. Yeah. And I built my own business.
What is it?
That's what the T-shirt says.
Who are you selling the T-shirts to?
No, I'm not selling anything. I'm selling furniture. That's the business I'm in.
Oh,
but in so-called socialism, you couldn't sell anything. I mean, profit was outlawed. In Eastern Europe, in China, in the Soviet Union. and private property was non-existent. I mean, that's the fundamental difference between the two.
Well, hey, the young people here can't find work.
But it's not the problem of capitalism. It's the problem of changing the system, resembling more and more social programs, or socialism, as some like to call it, that have developed in this country and infiltrated or being diluted in this country and in the Western Europe. I mean, that's the problem, not capitalism per se, but too much government.
Too much government. Huh?
Yeah. So you want governments to have 100% control of everything, right? Because that's what the socialism is all about. 100% of government control of everything, and I mean everything.
That's not a problem for me.
It's not a problem. And you think it will work. I mean, that's the problem.
I think it will work, yeah.
But it hasn't.
This is not working.
But it hasn't in 100 years. But the other system hasn't worked either.
Well, the other system has been here for 600 years, so...
600 years? Starting when? Capitalism?
Yeah,
okay. Okay,
it
even...
started then. You got to kind of least...
Okay, but then even if we take your number, that supports my claim even further. The test of time. If this system has been successful for 600 years, and look at the prosperity that we have today versus the system that never succeeded.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't feel this prosperity.
It doesn't matter what they feel.
They feel themselves poorer than they were before, when they are poorer than they were before. My children are poorer than me, and their children are having a hard time finding a job.
But it's a very relative term, being poor. Being poor in the USSR, meaning you really couldn't get anything. Anything, proverbial toilet paper, proverbial gyms, were virtually unattainable. If you look at the world today, speaking of poverty, and I like traveling, I've been to over 50 countries around the world. I mean, the same. So you should know then. I mean, visiting those really, really poor countries. I mean, if you want to talk poor,
well, most of them are capitalist countries.
Not exactly.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm not saying. Wait. I'm not saying that capitalism works everywhere.
I've been to Argentina.
I've been to all these countries.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
Portugal and Spain now.
But capitalism doesn't work everywhere, which means that at least when it comes to capitalism, because you can interpret capitalism versus socialism as both economic and a political system. At least when it comes to political part of capitalism, unlike former evil empire, Eastern Bloc countries, China and so on, there are no alternatives. In the sense that you live in the USSR, if you want to try to cross the border, you get the bullet in the back of your head. I mean, there's absolutely no escape. In capitalist countries that are not working, at least there is an opportunity. And at least, they get a chance to live and come to this country, for instance.
I don't think this discussion is going to go in a progressive way.
Progressive. But that's your favorite word, progressive, no?
Well,
aren't you progressive?
I mean, the discussion is not going to lead anywhere.
But that's too bad. I mean, aren't we supposed to have a discussion and hopefully find a common denominator?
I don't think there is a common denominator. You're happy with what you're doing. You're making money, obviously, or you wouldn't be
of course I am. Yeah.
So
it wasn't the case all the time. I came to this country with $100. I mean, that's all that I had, $100. And every single immigrant that I know of who came here in the same conditions, even worse, because at least I spoke some English.
Well, there's a lot of immigrants coming here right now. They're coming.
But
here's
I made it. Listen, I made it.
Yes,
why can others?
You also got legality quickly.
Legality?
Yes,
I came here legally. Well, eventually, eventually. But that's what legal immigration is all about. I mean, if you open the borders, the country is going to be flooded by what?
Well, they
close
opened
to
the borders to you because they wanted people to come from the Soviet Union.
But
they wanted people to
there's
make it more
but there's a quota. I mean, people still are coming to this country legally by legal means. It's not like we closed the borders. No, we never did.
It's just now, by the way.
No, I'm talking about the legal immigration. Legal immigration has existed in this country and will exist in this country forever.
You came over and you were in. You didn't have tuberculosis. My grandfather came over. Grandparents came over too.
From where? Poland, I guess?
No. From Sicily.
From Sicily, okay.
And from the
there's huge Italian immigration,
From that, they came in, and all you had to do was come in and not be sick, and you got.
And all of them made it, right? Without much of a government help. Everyone. Do you know anyone who is still on government assistance today, or clamoring for government assistance? I mean, that's my point. I mean, government is good. but only limited government, very limited government, enumerated powers.
I don't agree with that. Go about whatever you're doing. I'll go about what I'm
Okay, all right.
You need some suntan lotion. You're going to be burned to a crisp. Yep. Thank you.
What was that?
Okay,
A school
enjoy.
assignment?
They're from NYU.
University?
Yeah.
They look so young to be from
I know,
university.
but that's what happens when you get a little older. The young people look younger than ever.
So is their assignment or something like that?
They seem to be here with a teacher.
With a teacher?
Well, with an older woman who's leading the way.
Okay, so they came from NYU to protest, I see. Okay, and what do you think they're protesting?
What?
What do you think they're, that
They're
they're assignment
part
is?
of May Day.
Okay,
It's May Day.
May Day. May Day like when you're in distress?
No, May Day, the International Day of Workers.
You're taking this lady away?
Yes, he's taking me to you.
All right.